Miami, Florida. Tonight, the Pittsburgh Pirates take on the Miami Marlins. It's Game 3 of the 4-game series. 7-game road trip for the Bucs continues. Pirates won opening night here Monday, lost last night. Good pitching performances both. Jeff Locke, the 3-hit complete game on Monday. Garrett Cole pitched well enough to win, but lost last night. Greg Brown, Steve Blass, Robbie and Smikowski with you tonight. And Steve, this has kind of been a trend for the Pirates the last couple of weeks or so. The starting pitching has really started to come around.
Right, yeah, they're catching up all the offense, and they really struggled for about a month and a half. And now you take a look at the date, kind of the separation, May 15th. You can see before and after, and you go down to the walks and the strikeouts. A lot of people say, well, they had a lot of strikeouts more so than now, but strikeouts take a lot of pitches. So you would choose less walks over more strikeouts any day of the week. So that's part of the reason they've been efficient. That's part of the reason they've been going deeper and deeper into ball games. So now you're getting the good offense and you're starting to have pitching catch up. That's always a great combination.
The Pirates won the opening game of this road trip in Arlington, Texas, as John Neese beat Cole Hamels. Neese went 6 innings, allowed just 1 run on 7 hits.
He has been very, very good. Take a look at the last 4 starts that Jonathan Neese has pitched, and one of the real foundations in those 4 starts, he has only walked 5 batters, and of course that really helps, and he's getting more and more confident with that cutter that he uses to get inside the right-hand batters, and you just saw a nice variation to that with that sinker that goes down and away. So he's really pitching with a lot of confidence now, and he should. He's been very good against Miami.
Yeah, especially here. 3-0, 281 career ERA and 5 starts against the Fish in this ballpark. Adam Conley is on the mound for the Miami Marlins.
Yeah, left-hander, very young. He's still learning his craft, but he has had little sparkling, brilliant starts, including almost a no-hitter where he got taken out of the game. Inconsistent. He doesn't have enough separation with his speed yet, according to the Miami people, but he is capable of going out there and tossing a real strong ball game.
Lefty Adam Conley on the hill against left-hander John Neese for Game 3 of this 4-game series, and the Marlins will get their big bat back tonight. He's been out for a week, but Giancarlo Stanton returns to the Miami Marlins lineup. Bucs Fish coming up next. few days now and finally felt well enough to actually play in a game. So he is in the starting lineup, and we check out the Pirates, how they've played and fared well, Steve, against the Marlins.
Boy, they really have. Take a look at those numbers. They've dominated. And so last night was kind of a surprise, but when you think about Fernandez, no surprises when he is dominant. But good numbers, and you combine that team overall stuff with the job that Jonathan Neese has done, well, you got a good combination. But you don't want to let Stanton beat you in a given situation.
Coming up, Game 3 of the 4-game series, the Pittsburgh Pirates and the Miami Marlins. Clint Hurdle's club with Andrew McCutchen and company going fishing in Miami next.
It's time for the Toyota RAV4th inning. The all-wheel drive RAV Hybrid has performance that will make you rethink hybrid. Let's go Bucks!
Adam Conley takes the hill for the Miami Marlins in the 3rd game of this 4-game series. Conley's 11th start of the year.
Yep, this left-hand pitcher has had moments of brilliance. Almost had a no-hitter.
Pirate fans on hand, as always, in stereo.
Yep.
Jordy Mercer will be leading things off the RAV4 starting lineup. Mercer at short. Andrew McCutchen, a 5-game hitting streak, will bat second. Then David Freese, last 7 games hitting .407, had a 4-hit game on Monday night. Starling Marte will follow. Then it's Francisco Cervelli in the 5-hole. Josh Harrison has a 7-game hitting streak. He bats 6th. Sean Rodriguez in right field. John Jaso at first base. John Neese is on the mound. Gregory Polanco was scratched the tender left foot. And as Steve said, Adam Conley has had flashes of brilliance, including that near no-hitter a few weeks ago.
Yeah, and very young. As we said, he's still kind of getting his feet on the ground as a major league pitcher. And like a lot of young players overall, not just pitchers, trying to find consistency. He's been brilliant one day and then struggled in the next, and the last 4 outings have been a little bit of a struggle, and some control issues at time. He has walked 7 batters in a game, so he's going to need good defense.
Honda defense, there's Giancarlo Stanton making his first start in a week. Marcelo Zuna in center, Christian Yelich in left, Martin Prado, Adeiny Echeverria on the left side, Derek Dietrich, Chris Johnson on the right side, and JT Realmuto is the catcher for Adam Conley. Jordy Mercer looks for his first hit in this series and his 2nd hit on the road trip. He's just 117 on this road trip. 1 for 17. Trip that began in Arlington. The Pirates won last Friday, then dropped the next 2 to the Rangers. Winning Monday night to start this series, but ran into Jose Fernandez last night.
And that's not a good thing. He was just absolutely brilliant. Good off-speed pitch. Conley is not overpowering, and talking to some folks, they're trying to get him to separate speed, and it's kind of hard to force feed him at times. A young pitcher goes to a comfort level when he struggles. You saw Jose Fernandez looking on. Nothing better for a starting pitcher than win and then come to the ballpark the next day, so he's enjoying himself.
2 balls, 2 strikes on Mercer. Jose Fernandez won his 7th consecutive start last night. He's now 8-2. And there is his line from last night, and we had a chance to talk to him, Steve and I,
very
during batting
infectious
practice.
young man. Yeah.
And I think he at times is misunderstood by that enthusiasm that he displays on the field as Mercer draws the leadoff walk, but it's genuine, that enthusiasm.
Yeah, he's 23. He's in the big leagues. He's dominating. Why shouldn't he be having a lot of fun?
Rivers Casino tips to win.
Yep. Keep on scoring for John Neese. Great offensive support for our left-hander going tonight, and contain Stanton. Keep him in the ballpark. Try to avoid him having an opportunity to change the ball game. He might be rusty, but he's still very strong.
Andrew McCutchen, a 5-game hitting streak, as we mentioned, pops this one up, headed toward the seats. McCutchen 2 out of 8 in the series. His season numbers.
Talking about Conley, 2 starts ago against Washington, he walked 7 batters in 5 1/3 innings. So make sure you force him to get into the strike zone. Well, there he is, right there.
Oh, 2 on McCutchen, who historically hits left-handed pitching. Interesting with the splits for Adam Conley.
Yeah.
I wondered if you would stack the deck with left-handed batters, because it is pretty incredible. Lefties hit 400 against him. Righties 232.
That is so opposite. It's unreal. And if he stays around a long time, they'll start to change in the opposite direction, or head in that opposite direction. But right now, the lefties are tearing him up.
See the splits in the big leagues this year. Last season in the big leagues, lefties hit 286 against him. And a chopper has a chance to be 2. It is.
And the Miami Marlins in good shape because that ball got over the head of the pitcher. That made it a lot easier with less traffic and less detail going on. So they were able to get the ball. See the ball getting right out to second base, and that probably created the opportunity to get the double play. There was too much to do if the pitcher gets it.
It's Dietrich, Johnson, and the double play. And Andrew McCutchen came into this game the 7th toughest player in the league to double up. Here's David Freese. Just to finish that thought with the splits. Last year, Adam Conley at the big league level facing left-handed hitters. They hit 286 against him. Righties 253. But checking out his minor league statistics, and he spent half of last year in New Orleans, AAA affiliate of the Marlins, and even in the minors, lefties hit 292 against him. Righties 221.
And by the way, he got that previous fastball into home plate at 95 miles an hour. So I've not seen him. That was a little quicker and faster than I had heard he throws.
See, he likes to rush it as quickly as he can, get the sign and go. And Don Mattingly said his last start maybe a little too quick at times. That was especially true when it came to holding base runners, because the Brewers ran all night against him. A few starts back, and he walks the 2nd of the inning. Adam Conley, a 2nd-round pick out of Washington State 5 years ago, turned 26 years old last Tuesday.
couple free passes here in the first inning.
Here's Don Mattingly, his pitching coach behind him, Juan Nieves, and infield coach Perry Hill. Ball one on Marte. 7th in the league in hitting at .325. 3 hits and 7 at bats in the series.
Conley will throw the 4-seamer. He'll also turn the ball over for the sinking 2-seamer.
Popped up toward the foul line and is going to drop untouched.
Greg, do you remember the Tom Glavine story, who had such a good changeup against the right-hand batters, and they wound up putting left-hand batters in because it neutralized that changeup. It came in toward that hitting area. So you wonder if that might be something you could apply to Conley's approach, that he's more comfortable just turning that ball over, catching that outside corner, which would be coming into a lefty and being a little more attractive to a left-hand batter.
Just one left-handed hitter in the lineup tonight, and that's Jaso, who was going to get the night off because Polanco was in the lineup. But Clint Hurdle said it was a flip of the coin between Jaso and Matt Joyce as to who would start. Clint Hurdle going with maybe a hunch, thinking that those numbers won't play out tonight in terms of the lefty-righty splits.
And Marte just did something I don't still understand, that how you can hit a ball and it goes almost behind you. I don't know the physics of that. It happens every once in a while.
1 ball, 2 strikes. And that's a foul ball by an inch or 2.
That would have been fun down the left-hand corner. Marte might have caught Freese.
David Freese on at first. Adam Conley also, by the way, has given up only 3 home runs and has faced 162 batters since allowing his last home run. That's the longest streak in the major leagues. So even though the Pirates have been hitting the long ball lately, don't expect it against this guy. Last player to hit a home run off Adam Conley was Hunter Pence of the Giants, April the 24th. There's the umpiring crew. James Hoy behind the plate. Chad Fairchild, Jim Joyce, Marvin Hudson, Jim Joyce the crew chief. Down on strikes goes Starling Marte. Adam Conley retires the Bucks. Inning here in Miami, Florida. The Marlins hosting the Pirates. The Fish, a record of 27-25. 2 World Series championship teams here in 1997 and 2003. And here's Don Mattingly's lineup for Game 3 of this series. JT Realmuto, the catcher, leads off. Martin Prado, Christian Yelich next. Marcell Ozuna hits cleanup, and for the first time this year, Giancarlo Stanton bats 5th. Chris Johnson will follow him, then Derek Dietrich. Danny Echeverria and Adam Conley.
And the Hyundai numbers for left-hander Jonathan Nice, who has won his last 2 decisions, making start number 11. As we've been telling you, very, very good numbers, especially here in Miami against Nice. No stranger to this ball club. This will be career start number 19 for Jonathan, 6-5 during those first 18 starts against the Fish.
JT Realmuto, 3 hits last night. Although the official score correctly changed something from last night. For some reason, they had given him a double when he went to second on a throw to third. So last night he had 3 singles. Starling Marte in left field through to third. And then Realmuto, who hit the ball, went to second on that throw. And there's a fly ball to Starling Marte.
Almost in his tracks.
It's 1 up and 1 down. Realmuto is retired. Easy play for Starling Marte. Now Martin Prado came in late in the game, hitless in his 1 at bat. Still batting .319, which is 9th in the National League. In his 2nd year with the Marlins. Now 32 years old. Ball 1.
Jonathan Nice, very good last time out, as you mentioned, against Texas, beating Cole Hamels in the first game of the road trip.
I was wondering, had Cervelli caught that ball, might he have gotten a strike, but you see, he dropped it.
Yep.
And James Hoy called it a ball, dropped it, hit the plate. And you could see it was a strike. That you don't see that too often from Cervelli.
No, but you will see that kind of thing from umpires when they see something a little bit out of the ordinary. Couldn't have been great if trouble handling it.
2-1 on Prado. And a single to center. Team Prado singles off John Nice. Marlins 7-2 this season against left-handed starters. Lost for just the 2nd time when Jeff Locke 3-hit them on Monday.
So Jonathan Nice, continues to roll up some really good recent numbers. The last 2 starts, just giving up 1 run in each of the last 2. Got a no decision and a win out of that kind of an effort.
And yeah, he's getting a lot of run support. The Pirates are winning games when he's on the mound. The Pirates 7-3 in his 10 starts. Lefties hit .226 against him. Right-handed batters .294. We were talking about Adam Conley's splits. And here he faces a left-handed batter in Yelich, and it's 1-2. And unlike his mound opponent, he will give up the long ball. Only Max Scherzer of the Washington Nationals has allowed more home runs than John Nice. Scherzer's given up 15. Nice has given up a dozen. Tapper. Nice thought about going for it. Instead, it is Mercer. A slowly hit ground ball. And not going to get Yelich at first, but they do get the lead man.
Yeah, that was almost a carbon copy of the top of the 1st inning when the ball was chopped over the head of Conley. Just took too long to get out, and there's the stretch to get the out at second base. Did everything right, but the ball wasn't hit hard enough. Kind of an awkward kind of look for a shortstop. Trying to get a double play. He's making that stretch like a first baseman.
Yelich has stolen 3 out of 5. Marcell Ozuna at the plate. Looking for his first hit of the series. That batting average is 4th best in the league. Ozuna came in riding an 11-game hitting streak into this series and had reached base safely in 36 straight ball games. Fly ball to right. Rodriguez will be there. Well, John Neese puts up the 0. We've played one in Miami. It's 0-0. Nothing after 1 here in Miami, hoping for a lot of runs because, you know, the promotion that's going on this series. Pirates have scored 11 runs so far in the first 2 games, so $11 off the purchase of infield and outfield box seats for the upcoming series against the New York Mets that starts on Monday at PNC Park, and then 2 weeks later the Giants are in. That series will count for this promotion. Tickets available for purchase 30 minutes after tomorrow night's game at pirates.com/howmanyruns or Friday morning at the PNC Park ticket windows. So looking for a bunch of runs tonight and tomorrow. And Francisco Cervelli looking to start it off. 1 for 7 in the series. Adam Conley's career began last year. Conley made 15 appearances, 11 starts with the Fish, was 4-1 at a 3.76 ERA. And he strikes out Cervelli looking. Second K for Conley.
Yeah, and for a guy who's not known to have all that kind of power when he delivers his fastball, his strikeouts have been almost at a pace of 1 per inning, which is quite good. This time he picks up the inside corner and gets the call. But as I said, they're trying to almost force feed him to get more separation and trust the changeup, because a lot of it's hard fastball, hard slider. So we've already seen a couple curveballs that have had better separation.
Josh Harrison has a 7-game hitting streak, and he's batting .400 against lefty pitchers. And he takes ball 1. So this will be an interesting matchup when we talked about those splits. Here's a guy in Harrison who's 3rd in the league in batting against southpaws at .400 average, and in Conley, who does way better against right-handed hitters. They're hitting only .232 against him on the year.
But even just from a comfort level as a right-hand batter, you like seeing those lefties.
2-1. Sean Rodriguez on deck. And popped up. Maybe playable. And it is the second baseman, Dietrich, who goes out into foul territory. It looked as though it was going to be Chris Johnson's ball. Maybe he lost it.
Yeah, long trip for both infielders. I didn't know where Stanton started from, well, over toward right center field, so he was probably not in the equation. Johnson did get out there just as far. Usually it's an easier angle for the second baseman to go across instead of the first baseman going straight back. But a new life, continuing life for Josh.
Down on strikes. So with 2 outs, it brings up Sean Rodriguez. Allegheny Health Network injury update last night. Gregory Polanco found this pitch off his back foot. And so he was scratched with left foot discomfort. Not in there tonight. The Pirates, well, you have to say their big bat is out this game. Polanco. Sean Rodriguez was 1 for 4 and hit his 6th home run of the year on Monday night. Two and 0.
Oh, you're right, Greg. He just gets the ball and gets a sign. He just does not want to wait around. Speaking of getting around.
Yeah.
And a homecoming for Sean Rodriguez.
2 and 1. By the way, our Allegheny Health Network injury update regarding Polanco. A lot of people asking about Ryan Vogelsong, and he was to see another doctor today. They've been waiting for that swelling to go down. It's not yet been determined about the surgery, but that seems to be a foregone conclusion. As again, a strikeout, and 1, 2, 3. That's 4 in a row for Adam Conley. Nothing. Here's Giancarlo Stanton back in the lineup after missing a week.
Got demoted in the lineup, batting 5th.
Yeah, first time this season.
Yeah.
Marcell Ozuna on fire.
Yeah.
And all dribbled foul.
Appreciate that note, Paul. Last year he did hit in the 3rd position at times, either 3rd or 4th.
Who's Paul?
Paul Newman. Yeah.
Our stage manager, I mean.
Oh, yeah, Butch Cassidy.
Yep.
Yeah.
1 strike, the count on Giancarlo Stanton.
Yeah, you want to see how if Nice is going to challenge him with that cutter inside right-hand batters. That's been a very good weapon for John. Tries to go down and away.
We are told that this is the second consecutive series that Giancarlo Stanton has played without that football-style face guard. He's gone back and forth, maybe depending on who's pitching. 3-2, and of course, you know by now, a couple of years ago, his season ended abruptly when he was hit in the face by a pitch from Mike Fiers of the Brewers, and
he had a chance to get that call, not quite.
So, confirming that he'll keep that football-style mask for right-handed pitchers, but when he faces a lefty, he goes back to the regular batting helmet. Giancarlo Stanton, sore right side kept him out of games for a week, and a walk. Stanton collided with Marcell Ozuna in a game a couple of weeks ago, and then this is last year's September 2014, the injury that cost Giancarlo Stanton the rest of the year.
And then last year, broken hamate bone kept him out after he was off to a fabulous start.
It has been interesting with Giancarlo Stanton, without question one of the most dangerous hitters in baseball when he is in the lineup, but it has been really tough to kind of keep him on the field. He has played less than 124 games 3 of the last 4 years. And even before this latest injury sidelined him for a week, had been in a horrific slump. 3 for his last 25 at bats, batting only .120, and that included a stretch of games where he was 0 for 19 with 16 strikeouts. Unheard of, certainly for that man, Barry Bonds, the hitting coach.
You know, I never knew what a hamate bone was until years back. Remember Dave Hollins, third baseman for the Phillies, had that.
Pat Mears had it, didn't he?
Yeah, Pat Mears did, exactly. Kept Stanton out last year.
And hit into center field for Chris Johnson, putting runners at first and second to start the second inning. Johnson, a .370 career hitter against John Neese, rifles one into center field.
Oh, those base on balls prior to this base hit, and Neese has been so very good recently with throwing strikes. It opens the door here in the bottom of the second inning for the Fish.
Derek Dietrich, a couple of hits in the series. Dietrich's average up to .318. John Neese in some trouble here in the second.
With Josh Harrison playing pretty much straight away, Dirty Mercer is up and back at second base, so we need that 2-hopper right to Josh. That'll work better, 4.63 rather than 6.43.
One ball, one strike, and nobody out. Tapper.
You know, last night there was a situation where the ball hit DeGung at third base where Josh was almost that far away from second base, and it became very difficult to turn the double play.
In fact, they didn't because of that. Talking to Nick Leyva, the infield instructor, today about that 6th inning ground ball, and he said that the problem was this ball's bounced to Harrison, and a tough hop, stays with it and gets past Jaso. Neese backs up and everybody is safe.
The bobble and then the bobble. And Josh kind of saying that ball came up on him. And the only realistic play he had at that point was at first base.
Well, it looks as if Jaso holds on to it. They might get the out.
They still get the call.
Right?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
I mean, you could argue that's an error on Jaso. Now they're loaded with nobody out. Rodani Echeverria. And the infield looks for a double play ball. Just to go back to that play last night where the ball was hit to Gung and a routine double play ball if everybody's playing regular position, but because of the shift and Harrison so far back, Nick Levis said that that's normally Mercer's ball to take from the third baseman, but Mercer had moved to his right, and this is ball bounced to third. Freeze with a nice pick. And Cervelli doesn't look to first. He just accepts the play at the plate. That looked as though they might have had a shot at first. They'll just take that one out.
Boy, you're right. That was a tougher play than it looked because Freeze was coming in and had to take the ball on the backhand side on a short hop. That is a terrific play. So they stopped the bleeding momentarily.
Really surprised he didn't think about throwing to first there. You know that? He was only halfway up the line.
He just looked straight ahead. Straight ahead.
That was weird. They get one out, and now the pitcher Adam Conley.
And he has struck out 12 out of 18 at bats. This could be a real opportunity for Nice.
By the way, they've changed the air from Josh Harrison to John Jaso.
Correctly.
And now it is a 1-2 count on Conley.
Should be able to add to that strikeout total now. Make it 13 out of 19. Be huge.
4 hits and 36 career at bats for Conley.
But you certainly don't want to let it go any further than this. You don't want to wind up in a 3-2 count where you're basically trying to throw a strike, any kind of a strike, and that gets a little dangerous against anybody.
And he gets him.
Wow. Yeah.
Big second out.
Not a very big swing.
No. So now Nice will go after Real Muto. And last night, Garrett Cole did a wonderful job getting out of trouble in 4 of the first 6 innings, and then could not get out of trouble in the 7th. Nice is trying to do what Cole did much of the night last night. Jeff Locke didn't have much trouble at all 2 nights ago. He only gave up 3 hits.
Well, this could be huge here for Nice and the Pirates. And you know, Garrett Cole last night, there's only so many jams you can get out of. You can't get out of all of them. He tried to get out of all of them, but when you have 3 or 4 of those kind of situations, eventually you're going to get hurt. But, nobody battled more than Garrett Cole last night.
1 ball, 1 strike. He's trying to pick up his infielders. And now it's 1-2.
1 pitch away from that. You just simply do not get out of many bases loaded, nobody out jams, unless you're Ramos last night.
Yeah. A.J. Ramos
gave up 1. Big time 9th inning closing job.
1 ball, 2 strikes on Real Muto.
After he created that mess.
And John Nice does get out of it. What a job he just did. No runs. Nothing.
Jam, nothing as we hit inning number 3. I'm Robbie. It's Mikowski. Pleased to be joined by an ex-Bucco hanging out here in Miami, visiting the team, Renny Stennett, a member of the 71 and 79 World Series teams. Renny, hanging out in Florida these days, what have you been up to with your life?
Well, besides playing a little golf and helping out the grandkids that are playing basketball and baseball. My wife, I'm her agent right now. She writes children's book. We have a series of 6 books that's coming out real soon. I'm trying to get it into the public school. The first one is about bullying. It's about, a different approach to bullying. And as a matter of fact, today was the first day. First one just came back, from Amazon. And I'm talking to some of the superintendents of school and stuff to try to introduce us into the school system.
Well, very nice. Best wishes with that as you continue with you and your wife. You remember 2 World Series teams, and you're wearing one of the rings here from the 1971 World Series teams. When you look back on it, what does it mean to you to be such an integral part of the history of this franchise?
Well, it's everything, because first of all, if I had to do it all over again, like I say, I would always be a Pirate, and it was just so much fun because all the guys were great, and we really did like each other, and we had a really good time. We won a lot of baseball game, and even up to today, every time I see one of the guys, it takes you back 20, 30, 40 years, because we do feel the same way, and we had this winning attitude, and it doesn't matter how tough things were. We always felt that we could come back.
Well, one of those guys is Mr. Steve Blass. Now, every time his name gets mentioned, that's your reaction. You start laughing. Why is that, Renny?
Well, Steve is a great guy, great character, great teammate. He's so much fun to be around. Just like, he's like Stargell. He's a good instigator, but that's what they do, make people always feel comfortable when you're around them. They're real good people, not just great ball players, and I'm so really lucky to have played with a team that had so many, not just great players, but people.
So Steve was always whacked in the head like that, even back in the 70s?
Well, I think it got a little worse after he retired. I guess he wasn't playing anymore, and he got a little crazier. I didn't know he could get any more crazier,
possible.
But he did. But he does a great job in promoting the Pirates, and I love listening to him in the radio all the time, and it's a very, very interesting person.
Now, one thing the guys are wondering, talk about current day baseball. You were an infielder. You played all over the place, Renny. What do you make of the new slide rules in Major League Baseball?
Well, I personally, I don't like the rule, and I believe that if a guy make a bad slide or somebody try to, knock the runner over, that's part of baseball. The second baseman has to know how to get out the way. If it's back his turn, of course, the guy shouldn't, slide under him. That can happen anyway. But it just takes away from the game. In a double play ball, I see a lot of clean slides, and they're calling the guy out at first base. It takes away a lot from the game.
Well, Renny, it's great to have you back. Great to see you. Thanks for joining us.
All right, thank you. Great to see you guys.
Blass, every time I mentioned your name, he laughed. On camera, off camera, it never changes. Why could that be?
Well, he hasn't heard all the stories more than 3 or 4 times, so I got to get back at him.
Well, that's high praise, though.
He said he's going to get back at you, okay?
And by the way, Robbie,
take it easy on me. I know he's pretty tough, but I'll have something for him next time too.
Robbie, we've got 2 outs, unfortunately, but before the game, Steve and I were down there talking to Renny, and Renny said to tell Sangy to watch out for those home runs.
I know it.
The home run that was hit at PNC Park.
He should have caught that ball.
He was sitting there in right center field, Sangy, in the seats.
Sangy almost caught a baseball last week that was hit. Did you see that?
Well, yeah, I was in the car the other day. I was listening to the game, and I heard that home run, and the guy said Sangy almost got hit in the lips. So when I got home, I saw the replay on TV, and just tell him he got to change the seat or something. I mean, he's kind of cheap. Tell him just give him a seat behind home plate.
Yeah,
take care.
You're right.
He's over by his barbecue, though. That's the problem. He's got to be close to the barbecue.
He needs quick access to from the barbecue guys.
Yeah, he's too pretty to be out by the barbecue. You got to get him in the picture more.
His Panamanian brother. Boy, talk about an area that developed some great Pirate players. Renny Stennett, Manny Sanguillen, Omar Moreno from Panama.
Yep. I've got a good Renny Stennett story before anybody knew anything about him, but we'll wait.
Well, we'll wait to see if Jordy Mercer's line drive is fair or foul. It's a foul ball.
we went down to play an exhibition game down in Panama. Well, let's take a look at this
the
first.
1975
this is a bigger story.
Historic moment at Wrigley Field in Chicago, September 16th.
All 5 different pitchers.
Major league record. 7 hits in a game on 5 different pitchers. How about that?
Amazing to get up 7 times.
7 for 7 in a rout over the Chicago Cubs.
I think that was a final score 22-0. John Candelaria was the beneficiary.
And Jordy Mercer lines this one to left. So a 1-2-3 third inning and no hits for the Bucks against Adam Conley.
Pirates Baseball on Root Sports is brought to you by Allegheny Health Network, Health for All, and by Day Automotive. We're gonna make your day. Let's go Bucks!
0-0. Head to the bottom of the third inning. More Pirates fans on hand to see the Pirates and the Fish and Martin Prado. And there's a Bucco fan, Renny Stennett.
Yep.
Thanks for that conversation he had with Robbie.
Still looking pretty good.
Yeah.
He really is in good shape.
Said he wants to come up to Pittsburgh this summer and get on the golf course with you.
Yep. We'll have our regular alumni tournament. Hope he can make that. Before he turned professional, we did go down to Panama and played some exhibition games. Nobody knew anything about it, about Renny Stennett.
And Nice, who fields his position about as well as anybody, makes that play.
And so I had a chance to pitch, and that was in my heyday. I was coming off a real good year, and this kid came up. We played a Panamanian national team. Stennett went 3 for 3 off me with 3 rockets, and I said, Sangy, who's that kid? He said, do you know his name? Renny Stennett. He's going to be real good.
He was right.
So yes, Sangy knew about him. I had no idea who it was. They just 3 really good rips. Got to know him. By the third at bat, I got to know him.
Robbie was asking Renny about the situation with the new slide rule. It was because in 1977, August 21st, 1977, Renny Stennett was maybe on his way to a batting title and ended up sliding into second base and fractured his leg, and he really was never the same player after that. Dislocated his right ankle and was out for the rest of the year. At the time, I think he was hitting .337 if I'm not mistaken.
And later on, he got traded to the Giants, going out there and playing that raw, cold weather, and it was a factor that really hurt him. Signed a good contract with the Giants. Never quite the same. But boy, could he hit. Renny Stennett was a hitting machine. You think about that parade of second basemen that we had through the years. starting with Maz and Willie Randolph and Stennett and Cash, and there's probably
Johnny Ray.
Yeah, a couple other names.
And of course Freddie Sanchez. And ball hit well to left and just stays in. Christian Yelich opposite field double with one out here in the third inning.
And it looked for a minute like Marte had it measured, and then he just turned around hoping to get a bounce that he could do something with. Kind of bouncing on an angle away from him. But that's up in that go zone. High and over the plate, extend the arms, hit it with authority, the opposite field. It looked, early on, but then he had to really extend, so there's no possibility of a throw in from left field, but ballpark held it. So John continues to walk on some thin ice.
Christian Yelich hitting over 300 against lefties and righties. Doesn't matter, right-hander or throw from the other side. Christian Yelich, his third hit of the series. And Marcell Ozuna. .450 hitter against left-handed pitching. Talk about a tough matchup.
Wow.
This is the top hitter in the league against left-handers. Just foul.
He can't be too bad against the righties either, the way he's been on fire recently.
Finished up a great month of May. Marcell Ozuna, you see the top hitter in the league against southpaws. Ended his May with a .411 batting average.
Jonathan has him 1-2.
And strikes him out looking.
There you go. Boy, he's getting some strikeouts at the right time. He's got 3. And the timing couldn't be better. He's not wasting any of them. That looked like he turned it over. Yeah, see where, well, he didn't turn it over. That's that backdoor cutter. Looks like it's going to stay outside and nips in over that outside corner. So it wasn't the sinker, it was the cutter.
Stanton takes a strike. And out of play, 0-2 on Giancarlo Stanton.
Actually down, away. Stanton strikes out a ton of times, so you probably got a couple of pitches you can try to make him chase. Nowhere near the strike zone. We'll see how John approaches it.
Oh, did he go? Yes. Giancarlo Stanton on the appeal to Chad Fairchild strikes out. 0-0. And Rob, the Volkswagen American League East standings, Red Sox 3 up on Baltimore. The Jays, Yankees, and Rays trailing. Mookie Betts on fire. Jackie Bradley Jr. recently had that hitting streak snapped. Meanwhile, the National League Central Division standings, the Pirates are 6.5 back of the Chicago Cubs, who are about ready to host the Dodgers. John Lester on the hill. Dodgers shut them out last night, and for the first time in what, 25 starts, the Cubs lost a game in which Jake Arrieta started last night.
My goodness.
A fly ball to left. Andrew McCutchen is retired.
Well, this young man on the mound for the Marlins is red hot again.
National League Central Division standings. See where the Pirates are. The Cardinals losing again. Brewers got the W over the Redbirds. 23 wins when Jake Arrieta had started for the Chicago Cubs, but blanked in last night's ball game. Scott Kazmir outdueled him. David Freese going to try and beat it out for an infield single, but Conley makes a heck of a play.
Wow.
Adam Conley
going the opposite way from where he's going to throw. It helped a little bit that he's a left-hander, but that is outstanding. I thought if it got by him, we had an easy base hit. Well, he's kind of standing right there on the mound. That's a terrific play. Didn't give him a moment to catch his breath.
Wow. Really good play.
Yep.
All in one motion.
So he keeps the no-hitter intact.
Yep.
You know, he took one with what, 2 outs in the 8th inning earlier this year, and was removed after 117 pitches. But that is, he went a long way. Very athletic move. He gets a circle around that.
Starling Marte struck out in the first.
Nothing doing for the Pirates after the first inning. He issued 2 walks. He's been squeaky clean since. Making it look pretty easy
he's
right now.
Gaining more and more confidence too with each pitch he delivers here.
And why not when he's dealing like that? Just get the ball and keep throwing it. He's in a groove.
Greater coverage of baseball brought to you by T-Mobile. Look at the updated voting totals for the National League All-Star team. Cubs very well represented, as you see. Rizzo, Russell, Zobrist, Bryant. Outfield has Yoenis Cespedes, Dexter Fowler, and Bryce Harper. And there's another strikeout for Adam Conley. 1, 2, 3. That's 6, and he's no-hitting the Bucks through 4.
It's time for the Toyota RAV 4th inning. The all-wheel drive RAV Hybrid has performance that will make you rethink hybrid. Let's go Bucks!
0-0. Head to the bottom of the 4th inning. Another pitcher's duel. Like last night. This one at the marquee matchup.
Kind of a similar theme, though, with our guy struggling and the other guy dominant so far.
And past Nice could not flag that one down. He really thought he should have. And Chris Johnson is 2 for 2. Nice will have to work from the stretch again each of the first 4 innings. Derek Dietrich now. Ball 1. He reached on an error that was charged to John Jaso. McCutchen. 1 out. Bring up Echeverria. Come to the North Shore this coming Friday. The Pirates begin a homestand, the first of 3 against Mike Trout and the Angels. Be one of the first 20,000 fans and get one of these free Pirates t-shirts, 1979 inspired. Presented by Sheets. For tickets, go to pirates.com/free shirt Friday. Josh Harrison was modeling that t-shirt that you'll receive if you're one of the first 20,000 on Friday. 4:05 game Saturday. Kids Sunday, 1:35, and then Neil Walker and the Mets on Monday night, the first of 3. And following a 1-game trip to Denver, it'll be the St. Louis Cardinals in for a weekend series. Echeverria bounced into a fielder's choice in the 2nd after the error that was charged to Jaso. The bases were loaded with nobody out. Echeverria hit the ball to David Freese, who made a nice pick on it. There's a line drive caught. This could be 2, and it is. Mercer to Jaso, an inning-ending double play.
Pirates Baseball on Root Sports is brought to you by the all-new Chevy Cruze and your Western PA Chevy dealers. And by Barrel. Check out barreltires.com and never overpay for tires again. Let's go Bucks!
Bobbleheads here in Miami. We have a bobblehead museum, actually. We go to the 5th inning. Starling Marte, Pokey Reese, Dave Parker, Freddie Sanchez. And a Point Park University tweet came in with this Renny Stennett bobblehead sitting on a shelf.
You say they got
Robert's home.
200 of them or something like that.
There it is. Bobblehead Museum. Here's Francisco Cervelli.
A bobblehead of Bob Prince with that was talking.
How about that one? The Blas-Sanghi one.
There it is. Those two heads should be bobbling.
Trying to figure out Conley here now. If Cervelli didn't agree with that call from James Hoy.
Frustration continues.
He has struck out 6, including Cervelli looking in the second when he struck out each of the 3 men he faced.
His career high is 9.
And it was borderline, but a strike.
That day back in April 29th when he had the no-no going into the 2-out situation in the 8th, he struck out 7 that night.
Against the Brewers, he was looking to become the 6th Marlins pitcher to toss a no-hitter in their 24-year history against a team, the Brewers, who had 1 no-hitter well, their many years of existence, and that was delivered by Juan Nieves, then the Brewers and now the Marlins pitching coach. But Adam Conley was that close to pitching a no-hitter. Wanted to join Al Leiter, Kevin Brown, Anibal Sanchez, Henderson Alvarez, and A.J. Burnett, former Marlins that have tossed no-nos.
Well, should he carry it past this inning, that's when everybody gets excited. When the word goes out throughout the hinterlands, there's a no-no going on. So we hope that we get a hit and stop that right now.
And he walked him. Well, there's a start.
3rd walk.
We're going to take a look at our Quicken Loans Rocket Arms. A couple of great strikeout performances that happened on this very date in Pirates history. Back in 1965, Bob Veal set the franchise record for strikeouts in a 9-inning game. He fanned 16 Phillies. Also on this date in 2013, Francisco Liriano struck out 7 in a row, 7 straight Reds. That tied the franchise mark for consecutive strikeouts. Well, lefties Bob Veal and Francisco Liriano.
Good pitchers. Francisco.
Josh Harrison way inside. Speaking of no-nos, how about you and I were talking about this, Steve, earlier today. Indianapolis Indians Tyler Glasnow went 5 innings of no-hit ball against the Rochester Red Wings, the AAA affiliate of the Minnesota Twins. They're playing it in Indianapolis. Glasnow walked 4 and struck out 3, but reached a pitch count, so they got him out of there as Harrison pops this up to left. And that'll be the first out.
Ironic. No hits, but 4 walks, more walks than strikeouts.
Corey Lupke followed. He went 2 hitless innings. Trey Haley, who we saw in spring training, pitched a hitless inning, and then Jorge Rondon gave up 2 hits in the 9th after 1 was out. And the game ended when the base runner, James Beresford, who broke up the no-hit bid, he was at second base. There was a fly ball to right fielder Willie Garcia, and he, down 2-0, he tagged from second to try and go to third. He went in standing up and was thrown out to end the ball game.
Watch Conley now. One of the reasons they might have run on him when he pitched that game against the Brewers, watch him cut into the set position so low. Now he's got to come up before he goes to home. That one click might give somebody an extra step, and that's a reach, that's a guess, but you wonder if that might have had something to do with it. Most guys are up around the belt or higher when they come to the set position when there's a running situation, possible running situation. And with things kind of dicey, you never know when somebody might take off. No score in this ball game.
He is this season. He was 3 for 4 last year. The opponents were 3 for 4 against him. And there goes Cervelli. Brewers stole 4 bases against him.
And again, he's young too, so you know he's getting his feet on the ground here at the major league level. There's so much more involved, and what is involved that you haven't been exposed to previously is faster. That's a pretty good jump right there. Now, Cervelli's not the fastest guy in the world, but if you get the jump, it doesn't matter.
Started going to that slide step after those steals against him. And he strikes out Rodriguez, number 7. It'll bring up John Jay. So this day in Pirates history brought to you by Day Automotive. This day, 2005, Pirates beat the Marlins 9-1, their 9th straight win against the Fish at PNC Park. It was Rob Makoviak who hit a grand slam, had 5 ribbies. Jack Wilson was 4 for 4. Josh Fogg got the win. Solomon Torres, the last 3 innings, picked up his first save of the year on this date in 2005.
Josh Fogg, how about him and Kip Wells? Remember coming over? We get them from the White Sox.
Yep. By the way, it was also on this date in 1939. The Phillies hosted the Pirates in their first night game at Shibe Park. Bucks won that game 5-2. And on this date in 2012, not in Pirates history, but in baseball history, because this no-no talk, it's appropriate that we mention, it was June 1st, 2012, that the Mets streak of over 50 seasons without a no-hitter ended when Johan Santana no-hit the Cardinals at the age of 33. And a date that still haunts Mets manager Terry Collins. He's talked about it before, that he allowed Santana, who had missed all the previous year after shoulder surgery and was making just his 11th start that season, 2012, threw 134 pitches. He would make 11 more starts that year. Last one, August 17th, would be the last of his career. And that game, you could say, has a lot to do with a guy like Don Mattingly pulling Conley. And the strikeout is number 8 for Adam Conley. He is no-hitting the Pirates through 5 innings. Inside Pirates baseball, some of the Pirates' top prospects dominating in the minor leagues. Plus, after a gruesome knee injury, Jung Ho Kang has battled his way back. That and more on Inside Pirates baseball, presented by Allegheny Health Network, tomorrow after postgame on Root Sports.
You know, Greg, I can't tell you how many times I've seen it, but I've seen it a few times. A guy is pitching such a brilliant game, and the other guy's kind of struggling along, working from the stretch, and all of a sudden, the no-hitter, the great game goes away, and the hard work of the blue-collar guy comes forward and wins the game. It doesn't happen all the time.
You're talking about John Neese.
Yeah.
Blue-collar in it tonight, right?
Yeah. As opposed to a guy throwing a no-hitter. Sometimes you outlast the guy, and that doesn't happen every time, but sure gets your attention when it does.
A couple of strikes.
Yeah, this shouldn't take long. I mean, this swing that Mr. Conley has.
Or not.
Yeah. Well, he looked better right there than when he swung.
Farrell Automotive League leaders best run support in the National League among starting pitchers. Pretty good pitchers right there. Jake Arrieta, Steven Strasburg, Steven Matz, the rookie, Jason Hamill, John Neese getting a lot of run support.
I'll take any one of those numbers for runs when you're pitching. You get over 6, you should win a lot.
McCutchen and his teammates being no hit. McCutchen will be due up 3rd in the 6th inning. Here is Conley's battery mate, the catcher, JT Realmuto. 6th time this season he's hit leadoff. And lines it fair into the corner. And Realmuto winds up with a 1-out double.
Go again. And next inning, Realmuto will start feeling it too when he calls the pitches and is the back end of that no-hit program. Is turns on this ball down and in and yanks it just inside the chalk.
Realmuto collects his 4th hit of the series. They will put the ball in play. The Marlins have the 2nd fewest strikeouts in the National League. Only the Giants hitters have struck out fewer times, and Pirates pitchers have struck out the fewest hitters in the league, as we take another look at how close it was.
Yeah, can't say chalk anymore. That's paint.
0-1 to Martin Prado. He's 1 for 2.
Well, this is a test for John Neese, right in the wheelhouse of this batting order. Prado, Yelich, Ozuna, Stanton. He's answered the call so far when he's needed to get outs, especially strikeouts at the right time.
To right field and a base hit. Rodriguez gets to it quickly, and they'll hold the runner at 3rd. Ball comes off the glove of Jaso, and Prado thought about taking off, does not. Josh Harrison came over to cover the bag. It's 1st and 3rd with 1 out.
Well, Rodriguez had the advantage. That ball was taking 1 bounce in front of him, so he was on the move, and I think Renny Harris decided with just this kind of situation, the people coming up to the plate, don't risk it. And Jaso, when he picked up that ball again the 2nd time, might have looked around and had a play to Josh Harrison. Not really, I guess.
His thought was second base, thinking that Prado was going to be taking off for 2nd. Tough customer here. Christian Yelich double to left last time up. He did bounce to Mercer in the 1st. He has hit into 6 double plays. 2nd on the club behind Martin Prado. And John Neese will induce those ground balls. A couple of strikes on Yelich.
You need to keep close with the way Conley's pitching.
On 2 strikes on Yelich, the 24-year-old from Thousand Oaks, California. Drafted in the 1st round 6 years ago by the Fish.
You need 1 more of those key strikeouts, John.
Still 1-2. John Neese making his 11th start in the Pirates uniform.
Let's see if he tries that big sweeping curveball that every left-hander has.
Did he go? And there's Marvin Hudson, 2-2.
And that ball did not miss being a call. Third strike by much. From the side, he held up. Pitch itself looked pretty good.
Bounce toward Jaso. He's going to go to the plate, and they're going to. Nope, not going to get him. Realmuto scores. It's 1-0. The throw was there ahead of the tag, but these catchers, they really don't block home plate much anymore. And so Realmuto slides in at the open lane, and it's 1-0.
John came in, got the ball quickly. Cervelli standing out in front of home plate. See, that's what gets me about that situation. Before that rule, you're going to make that tag and that out 99.9 times out of 100.
What I don't understand is why don't the catchers just around baseball, because we've seen against the Pirates.
Look at where he is.
Yeah, but we've seen catchers block home plate and it's not called. So why not just block home plate? That's my point.
Yeah, what do you got to do?
And it was, I think, the last homestand. The Pirates challenged it a couple times. It was Tony Walters of the Colorado Rockies. At least a couple times he blocked the plate without the ball, and they challenged it, and baseball came back to New York and said nope, it was not a violation of the Buster Posey rule.
That is a crime right there. That was the perfect example
of
why.
It's a good baseball play that.
Why it's not
silly.
Right.
Good play by Jaso, but Cervelli, who talked after that game about Walters, he said, as a base runner and a catcher, I don't know what to do anymore. That was a quote from Cervelli.
Yep. Heard him say it. Just this guy's really working hard. Makes a great pitch. Gets a play his first baseman can make an out with and take it to the second out in a scoreless ball game.
By the way, asked Clint Hurdle about it a few days after that, because Hurdle had talked to the league office, and then he said that he had a conversation in his office with Jim Leyland, and Leyland actually showed him some video, and that Walters, the catcher for the Rockies, had given a lane to the runners, according to their interpretation.
If you have the ball, you shouldn't have to give a lane.
Nope. Following that, he walks Ozuna to load them up. Second walk. Here's the play at the plate again. Different angle.
See how far he is out in front. I mean, if he's back there, he's got the ball. It's legal.
Yep.
Set himself up, make the tag, done deal. Now you've got a mess. You got one run in, bases loaded, and such a dangerous hitter up. It turned the whole thing upside down. Turned the whole inning upside down.
Somebody made a suggestion, Steve. You're going to do this. Make every play at the plate a force play, like a first baseman. This is what you want to do.
Yeah.
Why not?
Well,
Stanton at the plate with the bases loaded and one out. He has walked and struck out.
Now leave it up to the umpires. Let them make a judgment.
Of course, there are umpires in New York. The replay office. They change crews there. I say leave it up to the players, because in the past, Steve, going back well beyond Buster Posey, the players not only police the game themselves, but it was up to them if they wanted to risk injury. So in this case, if Cervelli wanted to give the lane and didn't want to risk injury, okay, that's fine. That's his deal. But if he wanted to block the plate like Yadier Molina did, we talked about Molina, the violent collision, Ty Wigginton, Coy Hill that year when Wigginton played for the Pirates. Leave it up to the players as to whether they want to risk the injury.
And then the umpires can take the rest of the thing. If they don't get injured, make decisions whether somebody goes after somebody, goes out of the baseline. Crazy stuff.
Same thing with double plays. Why create this new bona fide slide with Chase Utley, right?
Yeah.
If a player doesn't want to risk injury, get out of the way.
You know, if a guy came in tough one time, the next time the throw to first base would be in somebody's forehead.
2-2 pitch. Still 2-2 on Stanton, who has walked and struck out.
So he still can keep this thing together. Just one run.
Rob Scahill up in the Pirates bullpen.
But throwing a ton of pitches at this point.
Yep, approaching 90. Strikes out Stanton looking. Stanton really unhappy with that call from James Hoy.
Once again, Neese getting critical strikeouts when they're absolutely necessary. This can be another brilliant escape at the cost of a run for John Neese. And he gets a call, as Stanton will tell you right there.
And he did. He told James Hoy. And now Hoy is telling the dugout that's enough. He's still hearing the bench barking. I don't know whether it's still Stanton or his hitting coach Barry Bonds or his manager Don Mattingly. Chris Johnson is 2 for 2.
Well, Neese is working as hard as Garrett Cole worked last night.
One ball, one strike. Stanton is honked. Just inside.
That might have been a get even situation.
Well, now the runner's going to break for the plate and score because the ball bounced toward first. And it's 2-0 as Prado scores on the wild pitch.
Those kind of situations are as frustrating as anything, and that's wild pitch number 6 for John. Almost looked like it might have hit off home plate, and that spin just, who knows where it's going to go on a breaking pitch. Any pitch down in the dirt, they can bounce any direction.
Now they're going to intentionally walk Johnson to face Derek Dietrich.
I hate writing down WP when the bases are loaded. It just,
I know.
hate it.
I know it.
I mean, it's just,
you like
you're working so hard.
Yep.
There's okay times for WP for wild pitches, but not all the time. Especially never. It's never good.
That's a big one. Derek Dietrich. 0 for 2. 8th man to hit in the inning. Started with a strikeout of the pitcher Conley, then Real Muto doubled to left. Pitches by inning. This will be the 33rd of this frame and the 94th of the game for Neese.
Maybe sitting around this long won't help Conley.
Tapped foul.
And here we go again. You've got an 0-2 count. Now you're a little concerned about throwing the breaking ball downstairs and try to get him to chase.
I say no. I think his confidence wavers. Conley in the hole, hoping to bat again. Popped up. Shortstop Mercer calling for it. Well, John Neese working hard to keep it close. 2-0.
Telecast is presented by the authority of the Pittsburgh Pirates and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Nissan road ahead. This road trip comes to an end tomorrow night. Juan Nicasio on the mound for the Pirates against Wei Yin Chen. Our coverage begins at 6:30. It'll be a big start for Juan Nicasio. Clint Hurdle has talked about it, that he needs to be more aggressive early, and was also asked whether Nicasio would be a good option for the bullpen, and Clint Hurdle said yes, but we're trying to make him the best starter that we can right now, and we know very well that on the horizon is Jameson Tyone, so it'll be a big start for Juan Nicasio. And hopefully we'll be talking about trying to win the series as Cole Figueroa bats for John Neese. Left-handed hitter, we talked about it at the outset. Lefties hitting .400 against Adam Conley this year. Righties just .232.
Make him throw a strike here. And he did a dandy breaking ball.
Fredo Boscan will be coming on for the Pirates. Cole Figueroa made a start on Saturday.
There it is.
No hitter.
A couple of zeros.
Just gets a piece and in and out of Real Muto's mitt.
That would have been number 9, tying a career high.
You're going to break up a no-hitter. Those are the kind of things that have to happen. It's a pop out of a catcher's mitt, a strikeout. Look out, slapped foul. To the seats.
Figueroa batting for Neese, who went 5 innings, couple runs, 6 hits. He walked 3, one of them intentional, 6 strikeouts.
22nd career start in the big leagues for Adam Conley. Last time out against Atlanta lasted just 4 1/3.
His pitch count getting up there.
Figueroa pops it up. toward the line. Second baseman over, and Dietrich will make the catch. Foul territory.
And if you're trying to throw no hitters, you want that kind of play in back of you. You watch this good play by the second baseman, who does have the best angle. I'll remind you that he threw 116. I said 117, 116 in that no-hit effort back in the latter part of April.
It was against the Brewers on April the 29th. 7 2/3 innings of no-hit ball, 4 walks and 7 strikeouts, and as Steve said, 116 pitches. Good swing on it, but it's 1-1.
K-Club.
8 of them.
Started out the game walking 2 of the first 3 batters he faced. He got that double play after the leadoff walk. And, 1 more in the 5th. Other than that, a bunch of outs.
Two and 2 on Jordy Mercer. Lined out to left field his last at bat. He started this ball game drawing a free pass. 1 of 3 walks issued by Conley to go along with those 8 strikeouts. Really, so far, 5 1/3 innings into his no-hit bid, has not been anything difficult for his defense. He made the nicest play of the night defensively on the ball hit by David Freese.
Or will they come back to that if this continues on?
Full count. And there's almost, he's at 92 pitches now. It's hard to envision Mattingly staying with him. And did he go? Yes, says Chad Fairchild.
Well, Mattingly did it once.
At the time, Mattingly said there's just no way this early in the season that this kid, he's got a chance to be really special. No way that we're going to let him go to 130 pitches. Well, he's 2 outs now into the 6th inning.
He got a lot of help from his second baseman, and then he got a lot of help from Jordy there chasing that pitch that really could not be hit.
He has tied his career high in strikeouts. And once again, this only his 22nd start of his career. He's got McCutchen twice. Once on a ground ball, once a liner to left.
Out of Redland, Washington, 2nd rounder. 5 years ago.
Just turned 26 a week ago yesterday.
That's what they say. He's been brilliant like this. It's just a matter of consistency.
We're not to the point yet where Mattingly has to struggle with a decision, but we're going to get there if this continues. And Mattingly basically said it was a no-brainer that last time. That was an easy call for him. 1-2. Line to center field, and there's the first hit of the game.
And now you wonder if a pitching coach will come out after that. Sometimes we've seen Ray Sears or other pitching coaches, okay, it's over, the no-hitter's gone, and just go out to your pitcher and let him collect himself a little bit.
5 2/3 innings of no-hit ball.
That ball right there, he wanted that further inside. If that was the case, he didn't get it in there. Now, because Neese did such a good job of not letting this thing get away, now you can start thinking about, okay, we're still in this thing.
Try and take him off the hook and try and get him a W. Score 3 times here. David Freese walked in the first and that dribbler between the third base bag and the pitcher's mound, and Conley made a heck of a play on him in the 4th.
Andrew with a pretty good lead.
And he goes to the slide step and a line drive to deep right field, headed toward the fence. That's going to hit the base of the wall. McCutchen is going to be held at third as the first cutoff man is overthrown by Stanton. Goes all the way to the infield. It's a double for Freese. 2 men in scoring position with 2 outs.
And Stanton got a good bounce. If he doesn't get a good bounce, then Rick Sofield has a good look at what's happening out there, and you just wonder. Of course, 1 run doesn't get it. Now the visit out to the mound by Nieves. Andrew taking a look.
I don't know. Do you think Andrew McCutchen knew there were 2 outs there?
I don't know, because there's nothing to really look at. You just go. The minute there's contact.
Yeah, I almost wonder, you know, by that look, maybe he had forgotten there were 2 outs. Let's take a look. See what you think. Because rather than just taking off, he's kind of looking out that way. So that probably cost the Pirates a run. I think McCutchen will tell you, with his speed and 2 outs, he's taking off. He scores probably easily on a double. And now Marte following the trip from Nieves.
Hit it out of here, Starling. Turn this thing upside down. You mentioned only 3 home runs, so he has not been hurt hardly at all in that category.
180 batters faced since giving up his last home run April 24th. And almost clipped Marte.
Yep, hit it out of the ballpark, but at least a base hit, you're exactly right, would get Nice off the hook.
Toward left field, it is hooking near the line. It is a foul ball.
I wanted the Carlton Fisk call. Wave it fair.
Look, ball starts to hook.
Yeah. Almost.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Two and two. Conley due up second in the bottom of this 6th inning, but Kyle Barraclough is up, and if he doesn't get Marte, that might be it for him. Certainly going to be his last inning. And Marte
giving him a pretty good rip. By the way, Conley has thrown 5 wild pitches.
Broken bat, look out. The barrel winds up in the seats, and that is the final out. Pirates strand 2. Adam Conley gives up a couple of hits, still leads 2-0.
Down 2-0 here. We hit the bottom of the half of inning number 6. Andrew McCutchen, a 2-out single, a liner to center field, broke up the no-hit bid by Adam Conley. If you look closely on Andrew's left hand, he's wearing a glove that may not look a little bit familiar. That's because it is Starling Marte's glove, which leads us to this Point Park University tweet from Phyllis Davidson. Why is Kutch wearing Marte's glove? Well, I'll tell you why. He said it's because his is out of commission and he doesn't have a backup glove ready because it takes time to break one in. Now, Andrew does have a backup glove. I asked him about this before the ball game today, Greg and Steve, and he said he's probably about a couple days from breaking in the new one. At least that's what he says. Depends on his level of comfort. And next to his locker were 2 new gloves that just arrived today here at Marlins Park. He said they're going to take about 2 weeks. He said if he plays catch with it every day in about 2 weeks, that glove that just arrived today should be ready. So, yes, he's using Starling Marte's glove, but maybe not for much longer. We'll keep an eye on it and see how everything shakes out in the saga of Andrew McCutchen and his gloves. But he likes the way Marte's feels and has been obviously fielding his position quite well with it.
He has indeed, as Wilfredo Boscan tosses one pitch and retires Adeiny Echeverria. Boscan in for Nice.
4th appearance for Boscan. We said Nice went the first 5 giving up the 2 runs. The number for Wilfredo has picked up a win.
Well, a player's equipment so vital and important. I mean, the tools of the trade, and so you can understand why McCutchen is, as Robbie said, watching it very closely in terms of what glove he uses. And we were talking with Perry Hill before the game, the first base coach for the Marlins and their infield instructor, about this man and how precise he is with everything he does. Ichiro Suzuki. And Steve, we had a chance to talk to him before the ball game briefly about what a class act he is.
Treat to talk to him.
37 hits from reaching that magical 3,000 hit plateau.
And he's never heard of either one of us, and he couldn't have been nicer. And we just walked up to him, and an absolute gentleman.
But according to Perry Hill, he cleans his own shoes, his equipment.
Vacuums his locker, cleans it up.
Yep.
And if he gets a free pass, he just sets the bat down rather than throw it anywhere.
See, these are the tools that allowed me to make a living. Why would I throw them around? He just drops the bat and it's popped up to left center field. And one thing really interesting was this, what he said about replay. At his behest, at Ichiro's behest, if there were 2 outs and the 3rd out is made and his team, the Marlins, are on the field, most teams will just hang around on the field waiting to see if the manager is going to call for a challenge and if the umpire is going to review it. He, at a team meeting, said, let's, from now on, 3rd out, we run off the field
to show
out of respect for the game of baseball and respect for the umpires. So that's what these Marlins do.
That's amazing.
That is unbelievable.
And the accolades just kept coming from Perry about his class.
Ichiro Suzuki, 43 years old, and just such great respect for the game of baseball. And he is, you want to emulate somebody, your youngster, that's one you can look up to for sure. And what's been interesting forever, remember when the Marlins, the Seattle Mariners came to town several years ago, their first trip in after interleague play, and watching Ichiro Suzuki take batting practice, he was hitting balls over the Clemente wall, over the seats into the Allegheny River at will. And he does the same thing these days, hitting upper deck shots, but that's not his game.
Yeah, that is amazing. He does that for whatever reason, and he gets down to business once they play the anthem. But what a treat. That was kind of an honor to meet somebody like that. A very neat moment.
Heading to the Hall of Fame when he hangs up his equipment and spoke fluent English, by the way. Didn't need an interpreter for him. Ball bounced to the right side, and Harrison. And Wilfredo Boscan enjoys a 1-2-3, bottom of the 6th inning, down a pair.
Pirates Baseball on Root Sports is brought to you by Kenny Ross, Total Confidence Pricing, and by Levin Mattress, located in all Levin Furniture showrooms and freestanding stores. Let's go Bucks!
2-0. Buccos trailing the Marlins. Having some fun at Marlins Park. Adam Conley flirted with a no-hitter. 5 2/3 innings before giving up the base hit to Andrew McCutchen, the freeze double, and then got Starling Marte to finally bounce out. So his night complete. 6 innings, 2 hits, 3 walks, 9 strikeouts. Gives way to Kyle Barraclough.
Yep, he doesn't look like just a claw. He's big enough. 226, 6'3", might be the entire bear. Good to get into their bullpen. Let's take a shot at their bullpen. Not trouble with the starter.
Barraclough is the top strikeout per 9-inning rate among all National League relievers. 3rd in the majors.
19 innings, 34 strikeouts. Wow. A delight for the headline writers.
Yeah.
You're going to be a bear, be a Marlin, be a Grizzly. Little floater in there at 81 miles an hour compared to the 95-mile-an-hour fastball.
Lead off free pass. So Cervelli walks for a 2nd time. And we welcome you to Marlins Park. Greg Brown, Steve Blass, Robbie and Smikowski with you. The Marlins scoring twice against John Neese, who worked around some trouble until that 5th inning. But a play at the plate allowed 1 run to score. John Jaso's throw actually beat the runner. Francisco Cervelli gave JT Realmuto a lane in which to slide, and he beat the tag. And then Martin Prado scored on a wild pitch. Only 2 runs in this ball game. Josh Harrison has struck out and flied out. He is working on a 7-game hitting streak.
Well, there's been an issue with control with Barraclough. He has struck out all those batters, 18 innings, 34 strikeouts, but now that is the 15th walk he's issued, and he's still working in his 18th inning. Control issues. But if he keeps that really good fastball in the strike zone, he is a handful.
Two and one. Josh Harrison, who entered the game 6th in the batting race in the National League. Chance to get your votes in for your favorite Pirates. A lot of Cubs are in there. The first polls are in today. Still time to get your votes in for the next month or so. Pirates.com/vote. 3 and 1. Josh Harrison, Starling Marte, obviously Gregory Polanco with his numbers. You have to figure Andrew McCutchen's going to get strong consideration, even though it's been a down couple of months, just for his reputation.
Yeah, let's see if we can send some votes in and bump some of those Cubbies back into the cave.
Polanco, left foot discomfort, took a foul ball off his foot last night, so it did not start. Three and 2. Line drive, base hit to left for Josh Harrison. 1st and 2nd. Nobody out in the 7th.
that's really, I'll give the smart hitting to that, because 3-2, he doesn't want to walk people. That's been his really Achilles heel, and so you've got to look for a fastball. 97 miles an hour, and he turns on it because he's looking for it. Simple as that. So that's heads up work for Josh.
This will be an interesting call here. Does Clint Hurdle ask Rodriguez to bunt? David Phelps, Mike Dunn, righty lefty in the bullpen for the Marlins. The Marlins thinking he is going to be. They've got Prado in at third and Johnson in front of the runner at first. Not bunting, and ball one. See if that convinces the corners to play back now.
Prado still thinking along the lines of a bunt. You just don't want to help this guy right now as he struggles with throwing strikes.
One ball, one strike. And Sean Rodriguez. They are still not convinced.
And yeah, Sean Rodriguez was waiting for Rick Sofield to come back and look at him, because he had his back turned to him. So he wants to go and make sure of what's on and what isn't on. Rick was dealing with Cervelli out at second base, and they get together.
One ball, one strike. On deck is John Jaso. And now he shows bunt and takes a strike. So question is, did Rodriguez miss a sign earlier? And now rarely does a manager these days keep the bunt on for a position player. Pitchers, yes, but not for position players.
Delivered a perfect pitch.
One ball, two strikes. Chad strikes him out looking as he checked it, but he's caught looking. So a disappointing at bat for Sean Rodriguez. John Jaso comes to the plate 0 for 2. Now facing a righty. Unhappy Sean Rodriguez.
And he lets you know it when he is.
Ball, no strikes. And it's 2-0. Matt Joyce comes out on deck.
Fairclough has given up one home run.
Three balls, no strikes on Jaso.
I'm kind of guessing that he'll have the take here. I don't think you'd want to help this guy out.
Jaso bounced out, struck out against the lefty Conley. Just 9 at bats on the season for Jaso against left-handed pitching. Bulk of his work off righties. And a 4-pitch walk to load them up. Does Don Mattingly make a move? Checking in on Mike Dunn.
Well, the Pirates set up shop with 2 outs last inning and get right back to work here in the 7th. This ball game very, very much available. the guy's throwing a no-hitter, you think, well, we don't have a chance. And when that no-hitter goes away, all of a sudden you look up at the score and you're still very much in it.
Well, Don Mattingly is going to go apparently to his lefty. Mattingly decides to not go to Dunn with Jaso. He will, however, when Joyce is announced as the pinch hitter. Bases loaded situation here with just one out. Pirates trailing 2-0. Don Mattingly will call on Mike Dunn, who makes his season debut on a spring training. Had some forearm tightness, so step right up, Mr. Dunn.
Yeah, this is interesting. First appearance of the year on the big league level.
Matt Joyce, unlike Jaso, Joyce has faced several left-handed pitchers and has been doing a nice job against both lefties and righties. Joyce hitting .273 against left-handed pitching.
They activate Dunn, send Edwin Jackson, the veteran, away.
Designated for assignment was Edwin Jackson. 4 grand slams in Joyce's career. Just a base hit would do just fine.
Great speed at second base. They're not paying too much attention to Josh Harris, and he should be able to get a legitimate lead. Represents the tying run.
2-1. Matt Joyce, part of this tremendous bench Pirates have put together. He was a pinch hitter last night, drew a walk.
Take that right now.
Yeah. Two and two.
Pirates have been setting up shop lately. Last night in the 9th inning, tonight in the 6th, now again in the 7th. Break through one of these, get the big hit.
Full count.
Showtime.
3-2 on Matt Joyce.
Not quite the showtime with 3-2, 2 outs, but 3-2, 1 out. This is a Maybe a game turner.
Mark Dunn, Marlins all-time leader in relief wins, and holds. Base hit into right field for Joyce. Cervelli scores. Here comes Harrison, and this game is tied up. Rejoice. 2-2.
How about that at bat against the left-hand pitcher, and a good one.
Continuing this phenomenal work from the bench, Josh Harrison points to Matt Joyce, who delivers against the lefty. Pitch by pitch, Steve.
Here we go. Dunn, one of the best. And Matt just gets out in front, and it's evened up. Good looking pitch, and then the breaking ball just barely missing. And then he gets even. And it gets down to Cases. Here's the payoff. He got it up and in and available. He didn't miss the pitch he shouldn't miss. John Neese is off the hook, and the Pirates still in business.
New pitcher coming on, tied at 2. Here in the 7th inning with 1 out. And just a reminder, as you enjoy a cold one, to look forward to Miller Time later in the game, brought to you by Miller Lite. What a job by Matt Joyce. Off the lefty, Mike Dunn.
Now, Jordy Mercer will come up to face David Phelps. Numbers for this right-hander. Bonus batting average 202. He's got an ERA of 186. It would be a challenge, but Jordy is up to it.
Phelps pitched a scoreless 8th inning last night. And we got Jordy Mercer to bounce to short to end that 8th inning.
We were talking about gloves, McCutcheon's glove. How about the brand new look of David Phelps' glove? It's like the cow just died.
Ball 1. Yeah, good looking.
Looks brand new.
Yeah.
Doesn't look like Marte's.
And a possible double play. And it is. Phelps comes in and throws 1 pitch. Inning-ending DP, but Matt Joyce has tied it with a pinch hit single. Inside Pirates baseball, looking back at the career of Al Oliver. Despite personal struggles, Oliver found brilliant success in Major League Baseball. See his story here from the former Pirate All-Star on Inside Pirates Baseball. Al Oliver, scoop, tonight after postgame on Root Sports. 2-2 ball game now, heading to the bottom of the 7th inning. The Pirates rally to tie it. Pinch hit 2-run single by Matt Joyce, Francisco Cervelli, and Josh Harrison scoring. Those runs charged to Kyle Barraclaw.
In the hands of the bullpen, Neftali Feliz on to replace Boscan, who went a scoreless 1-2-3 bottom of the 6th. Take our chances with our bullpen right now. We're back to even. Took a while, but here we are.
Good that Nice is off the hook because he did battle. Neftali Feliz.
He has been on a roll. Just 2 hits in his last 9 appearances, involving 22 at-bats. Throwing the ball very well.
Alfredo Boscan pitched a 1-2-3 6th. Prado, Yelich, Ozuna for the Fish here in the 7th. Prado 2 hits against John Nice and a run scored. He came in on the wild pitch.
Takes it back up to 95 miles an hour after that off-speed pitch. Count goes even.
We'll stay 2-2 on Prado. Second toughest man to strike out in the National League. Only Denard Span is a more difficult hitter to fan. No way, you're not getting it. Nope.
Who's it gonna be?
Nope, gonna put it in the pocket. Nobody even gets to see it. Stays alive. How about that, Steve? Not even, just take a look at it.
Nothing. No. And then just giving it to him. I mean, torturing him.
Yeah.
Oh, look at the fake move.
Yes.
You look
How
at the
about that
phone.
move?
Yeah, you look at the phone.
Let me take a picture of it at least.
And go to the ball. I like it.
Well,
I'm rooting for the guy in the middle. I am. I think he
you
can
like that
trick
move,
him.
huh?
Yeah, I did. Take him out.
Trying to make some kind of a deal.
Yeah, but possession is 9/10 of the law.
He did it. All right. Uh-oh. Wait a sec. What are you doing there?
Scuffing the ball. That's illegal. You can't scuff the ball.
Oh, he's thinking about throwing it back onto the field too. Another one coming their way. Give me that back.
No,
you guys go search for the other one.
Yeah, you weren't good on the
mine.
first one.
Yeah.
Well, now he's going to position himself.
Watch this reaction. Not looking initially. Got to be looking. Oh boy, look. Ground ball to the shortstop. Jordy Mercer. One away. Hey, we're speaking of illegal. How about Marlon Byrd? Suspended 162 games for his second PED use. Byrd playing for the Indians this season. Terry Francona, the manager of the Indians, said basically he told the guys that his career is over. He's now 38 years old. This is not how he wanted to end it, says Francona. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of criticism of the situation, but it doesn't take away that we care about him. We care about our team. We also care about the individual, so that hurts. Feels like we got kicked in the stomach a little bit. Marlon Byrd suspended after testing positive for growth hormone. He was hit with a 50-game punishment in 2012. He's the third player to receive a 162-game ban. Alex Rodriguez in 2013, and last year the Mets' Henry Mejia. And Byrd made some statement, released a statement talking about it after extensive investigation by my lawyers and an independent chemist. It was concluded that the most likely source of ipamorelin was a tainted supplement. I alone am responsible for what I put in my body, and therefore I've decided to forego my right to an appeal in this matter and accept the suspension. Apologize for any harm that has caused the Cleveland Indians, Indians fans, my teammates, and most importantly my family. Chris Antonetti, the general manager of the Indians, was asked if he believed Byrd's explanation, because Byrd never really comes out and says he knew what was going on. They never do. And Antonetti says it's impossible for us to know, honestly. There's really only one person who knows what transpired, and in this case, that's Marlon.
It's tough when it comes down a second time. It's,
1-2 count on Yelich. 2-2 now.
I think they might have picked up that bottom part of the strike zone, and it looked like very definitely could have gotten a call there.
Yelich doubled in the third. It's going to be out of play. Marte over to take a look. Of course, the Marlins are stung by a PED suspension. Dee Gordon, who won the batting title last year. Their speedster, stolen base king, second baseman.
You talk about getting punched in the stomach when that happens.
80-game suspension for Dee Gordon began at the end of April. And down goes Yelich. MLB.TV Premium, the #1 live streaming sports service, delivers everything you've come to expect and more. Watch every out-of-market game live in HD on over 400 supported devices. Includes a free subscription to @Bat Premium. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.TV for details.
Little situation different with Dee Gordon and Marlon Byrd. I mean, Dee Gordon, as you said, a batting championship, maybe a cornerstone of this ball club. Byrd is not in that category. So when you lose Dee Gordon, you want to compete. And you're hoping that he can do the things he did last year when he was so fabulous. But
of course, his hitting coach, Steve, is Barry Bonds, and all about controversy surrounding the former Pirate, former Giant, and the all-time home run king, Barry Bonds, who for the first time really ever came out today, told Terrence Moore in a story that he kind of regrets for being the type of person he was in his playing days. He admits, he said, I'm to blame for the way I was portrayed because I was a blank. I was straight stupid. I'll be the first to admit it. This is the first time he's shown any regret whatsoever for being, you know, for those of us that got a chance to know Barry Bonds, one of the biggest jerks ever, in or out of uniform. Yep. There wasn't a worse person than Barry Bonds. So this is, you know, maybe the first big step toward kind of rehabbing his image. He said, I was just flat out dumb. What can I say? I'm not going to try to justify the way I acted toward people. I was stupid. It wasn't an image that I invented on purpose. It actually escalated into that, and then I maintained it. Never something I really wanted.
He's being extremely honest there.
Yeah, for the first time. And a 1-2-3 7th inning for Neftali Feliz. We're tied at 2. On Saturday, when the Bucks take on the Los Angeles Angels at 4:05, head to the North Shore, be one of the first 20,000 fans, and receive a Pirates fedora presented by Coca-Cola. Go to pirates.com for tickets. UPMC scoreboard 2-2. Head to the 8th. Pirates battled to tie it up in the 7th. Hey, speaking of fedoras.
Yeah, the old Panama hat.
You're gonna grab yourself one, aren't you, on Saturday, Steve?
Oh yeah. You think I don't want to cover this head up?
I'm anxious to see if you take just one. I'm guessing not.
Yeah, I might need to. One guy on the left might want to put a lid on.
Put a lid on it?
Yep.
Andrew McCutchen leads off the 8th. It's David Phelps. McCutchen has bounced into a double play, lined out and singled. McCutchen frees Marte.
Andrew trying to untie it.
Yes.
That's showing your support right there.
One and two. Phelps has not given up a home run this season. Marlins have allowed the fewest homers in the league. And McCutchen chases 95 upstairs. One out in the 8th.
High heat. Tough to catch up to.
David Freese has walked, bounced out and doubled.
Mr. Phelps has come in and got things squared away from the Marlins standpoint. The double play and now the strikeout to start out the 8th inning.
Couple strikes. David Phelps has chosen to accept this role as a setup man for A.J. Ramos. And strikes out Freese.
Went a little bit away from the fastball. They set up inside. That's very good, like a cutter. Right-hand hitters don't expect the breaking balls inside. If we can find a way to get Starling on base, steal a base hit, take the lead. A lengthy script would be nice.
Couple of strikes on him.
Once again upstairs at 95 miles an hour.
Tony Watson will be coming on in the bottom of the 8th.
So far, our 2 men out of the bullpen squeaky clean. 2 scoreless, 1, 2, 3 innings.
Who was the guy that played Jim Phelps in the Mission Impossible series?
Peter,
the actor.
Peter Graves.
Good call.
Good morning.
You're on it.
Good morning, Mr. Phelps.
Your mission, if you choose to accept it.
I will disavow any knowledge if this doesn't work out.
Wow.
Worked out for Phelps.
1, 2, 3. Strikes out the side in order. Still tied at 2. wrap up the series on this road trip. Tomorrow night, coverage here from Marlins Park starts at 6:30 with Pirates pregame presented by WB Mason on Root Sports, and it will be Juan Nicasio on the mound for the Bucks.
Right now it's Tony Watson trying to keep things just with the way they are.
Carlos Stanton has walked and struck out twice.
Numbers for Tony. Opponent's batting average, Bucking of 153.
Ball, one strike on Stanton. One and two the count. Close.
Yeah, he wouldn't have liked that any more than he liked the previous two calls.
He struck him out looking in the fifth. And two.
Yeah, what do you throw now? He's got the power to change the ball game, and probably looking for a fastball.
Right side, Harrison to his left.
Tony going away from the fastball. Gutsy call, gutsy delivery, gutsy out.
Bring up Chris Johnson. Tony Watson is the fourth Pirates pitcher to work tonight. Retired all three batters he faced on Saturday night in Texas. Just recently off the paternity list. His son Theodore, born last week. Celebrated his 31st birthday on Monday.
One of the best at what he does. One of the very best.
Full hand Luke. Tony
Is.
Watson.
He is. So cool they call him the breeze. No, they don't call him the breeze. It's just flat out cool.
Still 0-2, and Tony Watson strikeout total his career 304. That's fourth in Pirates history among all left-handed relievers. John Graybo struck out 326 in his Pirates career. Scott Sauerbeck 319, and the late Rod Scurry 311.
Some serious curveballs in that group. Rod Scurry might have
Was there a better curveball?
I don't think so.
That left side,
it just never stopped. Kept breaking, kept breaking.
Count on Johnson. Closer A.J. Ramos.
Struggled last night, but stumbled through the ninth inning and kept the win intact for the Marlins. Bases loaded, nobody out. Got one run out of it.
Stays 2-2. The pitching for these Marlins has gotten better. Jim Benedict is now the vice president of pitching development. The Marlins picked him up in a trade with the Pirates. Pirates and Marlins came in with identical team ERAs of 4.01. And there's a strikeout for Tony Watson. 2 away here in the 8th. It brings up Derek Dietrich. Of course, Jose Fernandez, the ace last night. We'll see a good one tomorrow in Wei-Yin Chen. So there are some people with Pirate ties on this team and in this organization. Jim Benedict, you mentioned coming over the winter. Perry Hill, we've talked about him. He was a Pirate coach for a while. Mike Berger is the vice president and assistant general manager. Pittsburgh Central Catholic product and a member of the Pirates minor league system for years. One of the great guys, Mike Berger. I know Mrs. Berger is watching tonight. His mom, Jack Berger, the late Jack Berger, was a long-time member of the Pirates front office. That dribbled foul by Derek Dietrich.
Mark Del Plano came over, part of the front office staff. How about that title for Benedict? Vice President of Pitching Development. I mean, not too many pitching coaches, guys that develop pitchers, get that Vice President title. So that's pretty impressive.
Speaking of Pirate ties, we mentioned this before. Derek Dietrich, his grandfather, Steve Demeter, was a long-time member of the Pirate system, and he is in pain. Dietrich was hit by a foul ball while he was in the dugout on Sunday and went down, never lost consciousness. And he's going to right away leave.
Ouch.
And I tell you, he just, you get the impression if he walks off the field, he knows it's broken.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't leave a game unless you just know it's broken. Wow,
there's just not much protection, and I'm amazed at how many guys get hit on the hand, wrist, fingers, and don't leave the field.
I mean, they didn't even bother to check him. Like, you know how they often go through the test and see him? He just walked off the field. So that is not good news.
The players know.
Miguel Rojas. Pitch running. So now Echeverria at the plate with Rojas pinch running. Echeverria 0 for 3.
2-2 ball game in the 8th. Got to keep track of that runner. Nobody's looking to get a cheap run right now.
Chad Fairchild said he did not offer.
Tony doing a nice job just before delivering that ball, making almost like a little faint move toward first base and sending Rojas back a step. Great shot here.
Full count. In the 9th, the Pirates will have Francisco Cervelli, Josh Harrison, Sean Rodriguez due up, and Tony Watson looks for the final out after getting the first 2. He then hit Derek Dietrich, and on deck, Cole Gillespie would pinch hit.
No, that's how the Pirates got it started in the 7th with a walk to Cervelli. That opened up the door for those 2 runs that tied it up.
In on him.
What a good at bat that was for Josh Harrison after the Cervelli walk. Finally looked for a 97-mile-an-hour fastball or whatever it was and pulled it, turned on it. They had to be hunting it.
Still 3-2 on Echeverria. Everything in.
Tie him up.
Still 3-2.
And did not get that ball where he wanted to, but got away with it. Maybe because he had been pounding him in pitch after pitch after pitch. Let's go probably not where he wanted to, upstairs. That's where he had seen too much inside.
Line toward the left center field gap. And this is going to give the Marlins the lead. Echeverria, heck of an at bat. Rips the fastball into left center. 3-2 Miami.
Yep, those full count deliveries that most of the time, high percentage of the time, are delivered with fastballs. That was up in that sweet spot, and Echeverria did not miss it. That's right in the wheelhouse. No contest to take the lead.
Series going to give Tony Watson a little breather. So Echeverria doubles in Dietrich's pinch runner, Rojas. And A.J. Ramos will be coming on to try and earn a save. Watson will be looking for the final out.
2 quick outs and then the hit by pitch. Puts the base runner on and then the gap shot. It can happen that quickly.
Scahill now Melanson was, but now that the Pirates are trailing and Watson's pitch count starts to climb.
Three 2 fastballs.
Cole Gillespie takes a ball.
Close to 30 pitches for Tony.
So the Orioles club going to try and battle back down a run. Two on the pinch hitter, Cole Gillespie. Well, Ramos threw a lot of pitches last night. That might come into play.
This will be number 30 for Tony, and this seemed like he struck Johnson out, but a lot of foul balls, not being able to put people away. Puts him away.
Well, Pirates down a run and need to rally. Francisco Cervelli will be leading things off. might be just joining us now during an intermission. And let's check out the new score as the Pirates score promotion, taking off each time the Pirates score a run, $1 off the infield and outfield boxes for the upcoming series against the Mets. It starts on Monday, and then 2 weeks later the Giants, down to $13 off. And this is how we got to this point. The 5th inning. Play at the plate. Francisco Cervelli gives the runner the lane and scoots in. Then a wild pitch from John Neese, allowing Martin Prado to score. 7th inning. Pirates tie it up. Pinch hitter Matt Joyce brings home Francisco Cervelli and Josh Harrison. Then after Derek Dietrich was hit by a pitch, pinch runner Miguel Rojas comes around to score all the way from first base on this gap shot into left center by Adeiny Echeverria.
Rojas at second base. Well, Echeverria. Rojas does come in to pinch run and stay in the ballgame to play second. Ramos wobbled, but picked up the save, his 16th. He has converted his last 25 save opportunities going back to last year. '16 numbers.
32 pitches last night to get those 3 outs in the 9th.
Let's see if that wear and tear you were alluding to after 30 pitches last night. Starts with a base runner. It started with Cervelli in the 7th. Got up 2 runs.
Last night, a leadoff walk to pinch hitter Matt Joyce. Eventually, the bases were loaded with nobody out. Almost got the next 3 men, including Gregory Polanco, hit a sacrifice fly. Run charged to Ramos. Was a bit in, and Cervelli didn't agree.
Don't streaks have to end at some point?
Yes, they
do. 25 in a row.
Inside. People that follow the Marlins on a regular basis tell us that that was not unusual last night. A.J. Ramos, it's often a high wire act for their closer. And a leadoff walk to Cervelli.
And he has worked around control issues. 22 innings, now 16 walks. 16 walks for a closer in 22 innings.
Tony Watson is on the hook for this one, Steve. He hasn't lost a game since April 6th last year in Cincinnati, his first outing of the year. His only loss last season.
Well, let's let that streak continue then. Got a couple streaks involved here. Finally, Ramos goes to an off-speed pitch to get a strike.
No strikes on Cervelli. On Harrison with Cervelli at first. Fourth game with 3 walks in Francisco Cervelli's career. Walks for a 3rd straight time. And a fly ball toward left. Over is Yelich. Oh, 1 away. Cervelli at first with 1 out.
See if Sean can show the home folks what he's capable of.
hometown, Miami, Florida, for Sean Rodriguez.
Looking for the fastball, got the hook.
Last blown save for Ramos, September 4th last year against the Mets.
Stayed off speed.
One ball, 2 strikes. John Jaso is next.
Sean Rodriguez has not seen a fastball yet.
And the Pirates down to their final out. Ramos strikes out Rodriguez.
Never went away from his approach of trying to throw the soft stuff. The one-hand finish of a swing, that's usually when you're that far out in front.
Dribbler. Ramos will throw to first. And that's the ball game. He gets the save. Final out made at first. A.J. Ramos saves it, and the second straight night the Marlins hold off the Pirates. Last night the final was 3-1. Tonight, after the Pirates tied it in the 7th, Marlins took the lead and beat Tony Watson.
Yeah, one of the big items there was Phelps coming in, getting the double play when the Pirates were still in business. They got the 2, they didn't get more, and that's what they finished with.
Looking for now a split of this series tomorrow night. Back-to-back nights where Ramos earns a save. That's 17 for him. And we will talk more about it back in Pittsburgh, the studios, Robin Teague.